Mr. Secretary, your entire delegation, welcome to the Pentagon. It's great to see you. It was wonderful to meet you the first time in Brussels and have some great interactions about our mutual interests, no doubt. And your Prime Minister, it was a privilege to meet him as well when he was here last week. Our nations, as you know, share a long and special relationship, stronger today than ever before. I experienced that firsthand myself, as many of our generation has, on the battlefield, shoulder to shoulder with British troops in Afghanistan. I know how capable they are, how tough they are, and how close our bond is as brothers across the Atlantic, full stop. And so we are grateful for, the many years that we have stood by each other's side. And also, at the same time, we are in the middle of a dynamic security environment where on that continent, President Trump is calling on our European allies to take the lead. And you have done just that, sir. In fact, you chaired the first meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group that I had a pleasure to speak to. That was your first time as chair, and you'll continue to. And that's, again, the United Kingdom stepping up. And then once again, when your prime minister was here, you called me. We had a chance to speak briefly about the increase in defense spending that the UK is undertaking. So UK leadership is absolutely critical, and we very much appreciate it. We want to work together to achieve peace and security in Europe by working to bring an end to the war in Ukraine, building sustainable deterrence on the continent, and then increasing our allied capabilities and interoperability. And European leadership of NATO, led by the UK, led by others, is, we believe, the future of defense on the continent, ensuring we provide a peaceful future for your kids and my kids and your grandkids and my grandkids. That's ultimately what it's about. I also want to thank the British people for the warm support they give to U.S. forces stationed in the UK as well. It's a long-standing relationship that we are very grateful for. So you're true allies, longtime friends. We're new friends, but we're getting there, and fellow warriors. So thank you very much for being here, Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for such a warm welcome and such warm words. It's great to be back in Washington, and it's good to see you again. We last met last month in NATO, and then you challenged Europe to step up. You challenged us to step up on Ukraine, on defense spending, on European security, and I say to you that we have, we are, and we will further. And last week, the British Prime Minister announced the biggest increase in defence spending since the end of the Cold War, and we will go further. You also asked the UK to step up on leadership on Ukraine alongside the US. And indeed, you were with me when we had the 46 nations round the table at a week's notice at the Ukraine Contact Group. Our meeting today follows very good discussions between President Trump and Prime Minister Starmer a week ago today, in which they both pledged to work together, our nations would work together to secure a lasting peace in Ukraine. And we have a chance today to discuss the progress on that path to peace, with the opportunity that President Trump has created now since the 20th of January. And when your President and my Prime Minister met last week, your President also said that the UK and the US have a relationship like no other. And I think for me that was exemplified last night at the British Embassy, when we were able to lay on a party to celebrate the 250th birthday of the US Marine Corps. And for more than a century, your US Marines and our Royal Marines have trained together, they fought together, and too often they've died together, defending the values that our two free nations share. And Pete, as you say, you know that from your own experience and your own service. And in many ways, for me, they embody the sort of warrior force that both you and I as Defense Secretaries are dedicated in our roles to strengthen, because we know that we have to strengthen, together with allies, deterrence in the face of rising threats. And finally, if I may, you've spoken about the deep bond between our two nations, and I'd say to you, I'm here today to strengthen that defence and security bond between our two nations. It's needed now more than ever in this new era that we must face together. So thank you for receiving us, and thank you for welcoming our delegation. I look forward to the discussions ahead.
And to that I say amen. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.